everyone, it's week 2 of our month-long festive art journal prompts theme today, and I want to work with distress oxides today. I'm working on smooth cardstock just because I've found that distress oxides are just easier to apply and blend better on smooth cardstock than they do on mixed media paper. You could use Bristol, of course. So I'm going to take the lids off. I'm using these blending tools today, and I'm going to start off by adding some of the faded jeans, and I'm going to have to go over this a couple of times as well, just to sort of make sure that I get the blend that I'm after. It's not going to happen on the first application, and I'm going to alternate between the two. So I'm now going to add broken china. Couldn't remember whether it was broken china or peacock feathers. So we'll just keep blending like this, and as I say, it is going to need a couple of applications to get the blend that I am after. And then I think I'll add some more of that faded jeans just in the bottom. And I'm going to end up all horribly inky, because when I use distress oxides, I always do. It's an absolute pain to get off your fingers, but you can get it off if you use a pumice stone. Oh, my ribbons have all decided to fall off. I hope I'm not bashing the table too much whilst I'm doing this. And I'm going to blend it up here as well, just to sort of really, try and mix those two colours. Happy with how that looks, but I want to add a bit of picked raspberry as well, because I've got some pink in my focal image, and so I'm just going to attempt just to add a little bit of this just around the edges like that, just so that it ties in my focal image when I add it. And oh, I like that. That looks really pretty. So I'm just going to keep moving my paper around. Trying to, as I say, blend it nicely as well. And then again, I can add, let me just use the broken china, just come in with that just to blend it out again. Because I want, the edges to be quite seamless, but I do want a hint of that pink. Now I want to activate those oxides, and so what I'm going to do is spray from a height just with some water, just to get that oxidization going. And just look at that, isn't that pretty? I just really like that. And so I shall heat set this with my heat tool, and that's some really nice texture, but I just want to add a bit more as well, so I'm just going to add some splatters like this. And again, I'll dry that with my heat tool. Now that's all dry, and I want to add some of the Stays On Opaque Cotton White, and I'm going to use this snowflake stencil, and I'm just trying to decide how I want to do this. I just want some random snowflakes around my page like this. Let's try and get them to stamp as well. Here we go. And then I can add some full-on ones, some whole snowflakes. This wasn't quite what I had in mind, but this is absolutely fine, because I can overlap this in a minute. And so I'm just going to continue to do this all the way around. Here we go. So we're just getting sort of like a hint of these snowflakes, and that's absolutely fine. Just around the border. And I just want this to just look really subtle. Oh, I just love that. I think that's really, really pretty. Try and get that big one in. There we are. I could even stamp this with water probably as well, and get a very subtle look. So I think I'm happy with that so far. Doesn't that look gorgeous? I really do like that. And then let me just I've got another snowflake here. Which one shall I use? I've got two. Let's have a look and see what we can come up with. See if we can stamp some whole images over the top. There we go, look. And then I'm going to use a different one as well. I've got another one here, and these are just from a mixture of different stamp sets. And so I'm just going to continue doing this all the way around, just to add a little bit of interest to the border of my page. I love that. Oh, this is gorgeous. And you all know that once I start stamping like this, I can't stop. So this is right up my alley. I want to add a little bit of silver to my background. I've got two silver ink pads. I've got the Brilliance Starlight Silver Archival, and I've also got the Stays On Metallic. And neither of these are perfect, but I've just tested it out on my mat. I want to use this stamps here from Gina Aaron's. This is one of the ones that Donna gave me last Christmas, and I'm going to use this ink pad here, the Stays On Metallic. This one is really sticky, and the Archival, I think I must have added too much ink to it last time, and it's now a little bit wet. So I am just going to add a few stars on my page like this in a couple of areas. I'm going to try not to get my fingers in it and get silver fingerprints everywhere. And again, I just want this to be quite subtle. I really like that. And then I just want to add a little bit of gold as well. Let's just add a bit more silver here. Maybe some here too. Are you able to pick that up? It is really, really subtle. So right, now I want to add some gold, and I think I'm going to use embossing powder for this. So I'm going to have to make sure that I've dried this, and then I've got my Stamping Buddy here, anti-static, which I shall use as well, just to sort of get rid of any additional stickiness. So let me just dry this up and then I'll be back. I've had a good dry with my heat tool, and I am just going to rub over my page with the Stamp Buddy like this, and this is just going to make sure that when I use the embossing powder, because of course I'm using Distress Oxides and they take embossing powder really, really well, so I just need to make sure that that's properly dry and anti-static. And then I'm using this stamp here, which again is just from one of my random Christmas stamp sets. I've got my clear embossing powder, and I've got a piece of paper underneath me as well, and I'm just going to stamp with this star image. I want to make sure that I've got plenty of embossing powder on there, and I'm going to stamp it just off the page to start off with, and then I'm going to stamp another one maybe here, and I'm just going to try it in this corner first before I do it anywhere else. I've got some gold embossing powder just to see whether it works. Fingers crossed. Got this piece of paper underneath me. Oh yes, there we go. And then I should just grab a little paintbrush. In fact, let's try whacking it off just to get rid of the excess. I really like that. So I'm going to set that with my heat tool. My goodness me, I can't get my words out today. How gorgeous that looks. I've got a smaller star as well, but I just want to go all the way around. Oh, whoops daisy, my stamp has fallen off. So I'm just going to add a few more randomly over the page. And as soon as I've done that, I shall be back. So I'll add one over here, and I'm going to do it, as I say, just one corner at a time. There we are. thwack off the excess, and I shall just heat set it and just work my way around the page. This is how my background is looking, and I just love it. I just love the mixture of the white, the silver and the gold, and I don't know if I tilt it whether you can pick up all that gorgeous shine. Now the focal image that I want to use this week is these three angels. They're from this can you see, museum selection magazine that came through the post a couple of months ago, and I kept it because I wanted these. And I think what I'm going to do, although the cover is slightly heavier, I think I'm going to cut this piece out here and mount it onto a piece of cardstock so that I can fussy cut these little angels. So as soon as I've done that, I'll be back. This is just a piece of scrap cardstock that I've got here, and it's quite lightweight. I don't want it to be too thick because otherwise I won't be able to cut it. And I am just going to go all over this piece of paper with just a glue stick, and that's how I'm going to glue it down. Wet glue will just make the page buckle, which is not what I want at all. So I'm just going to, as I say, just make sure that I've got it fully covered in this glue stick. That should do it. Let's move that out of the way and glue this down. And as soon as that's dried, I'm going to fussy cut around these individual angels. Cut my angels out, and they need a podium to sit on, stand on, because otherwise they'd just be floating in thin air. So there we go, that's what I'm going to do. And I've just got some of my folk art paint. This is the gold enamel, and I am just going to paint. In fact, I'll do it. Let me just move that out of the way. And let's do it. Let's turn that around like that. Just got a big paintbrush, and I'm just going to give this a couple of coats of gold paint. You can see that it's going to take more than one coat. So I'm just going to add thin layers, drying in between until I've got the coverage that I'm happy with. Now my boxes had, I can't remember whether it was 4 or 5 coats of paint in the end. I think it was 5. And what I want to do now is ink around the edges. So I've got my archival ink. I had my ink pad a second ago. My sponge a minute ago. What on earth have I done with it? Never mind, I've got this one here, so this one here will have to do. And I am just going to ink around the edge of the boxes, and I'm also going to ink around the angels as well. I just want to ink around the edge just to define the boxes and make them look a bit more three-dimensional rather than just stuck on the page. I'm not going to bother with the bottom at this stage because it'll need trimming. So we'll just do the top and the sides. So I'm going to do this around all of the boxes, and whoops daisy, let me just put that to one side a minute. And I'm also going to do it around the outside of the angels as well, just to get rid of any white lines from where I've cut them out, and just to define them better. So as soon as I've done this, we can start putting things down and deciding where we want to place them. Okay, I've inked around the edges of my box and of my angels, and I think I want it positioned something like that. So I'm just going to glue this down. I think I'll use tacky glue for this because the cardstock is quite thick. And then we'll have a look and see how we want to place the angels. So I've glued the boxes down and trimmed off the bottom, and I just want to add a little bit of detail to my angels. I just want to make their lips a little bit brighter. I'm just using one of these Papermate Flare pens because it's nice and thin and easy to use. So there we go, we'll do the same with this little angel here too. There we are. And then I've just got a Neo Colour 2, and I am just going to add just a little bit of blush to their cheeks, like this. Just blending their cheeks out with a damp baby wipe. It's so tiny, it's a bit difficult to get into, but this is how I'm doing it. And then we'll do the same with this little angel here. There we are. Because of course the Neo 2s are water soluble, and there we go, I'm happy with that. So I think I'm going to stick these down with some glue pads. So let me just go and find them. Oh, in fact, here they are, just bear with me. So I've got this these glue pads on a roll here, and I'm just going to cut some bits off, just because you know, the cardstock that I've used already is quite raised. So let's have a look and see how we can do this. I don't want any of it showing underneath, so we can trim it off there. And so I'm going to add various bits of these glue pads. I want to add a little bit to her head just to make sure that everything is glued down properly. So I've just cut a piece off here, and I shall just, so I can add that there like that, and we can add another bit to her wing, and then a thinner piece for the other wing maybe. Right, my angels are glued on, so I'm happy with that. And I've just got this little chipboard quote here, merry and bright, which I think I'm going to use. And what I'm going to do is bring back a piece of paper. I've got my embossing stamp pad again, and I'm just going to add some embossing powder onto that. And then I've got some silver embossing glitter. So let's have a look and see if we can do this. Let me just grab a pair of tweezers because it might be easier to hold it in place with a pair of, a pair of tweezers. So let's see if we can get this to stick. It might need, again, a couple of coats, but this should do it. There we go, tip off the excess. So I'm just going to put that to one side a minute whilst I just tip the excess back into the jar and then give that a heat set. Let's just tip that back in. Oh, come on, it's because I've used the embossing stamp pad. It's all stuck to, let's wipe that off. Right, smooth that out of the way, stick the lid back on a second. Bring this back with my tweezers. I don't want to get my fingers in it. And let's heat set that. Oh, come back. Let me just... Oh dear, right. So I'm going to need to add some more where I've scraped it off with my tweezers, but you get the gist as to what it's going to look like. So I'm just going to continue to add another coat of that and glue it onto my page. And there we are, it's had a second coat and I've managed not to botch it up this time. I just love that. And I've decided I'm going to stick it down with a little bit of Yoo-hoo glue. So I'm going to add it to the back in a couple of places and just spread it around. This is really, really strong glue. So let me just spread it around with my finger. Oh, let's just have a look. Right, make sure I haven't got it everywhere and position this on the page quickly. There we are. I think that's about right, I think. Stick that down. There we go. This isn't sort of super glue, but it's very, very strong. It's a bit like E6000, but perfect for chipboard, something like that. So there we go. I am really, really happy with that. So I just need to decide what I want to do now for a border. Do I want black or do I want gold? Oh, I don't know. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go round it in black first, and then I might add some gold as well, because of course my journal is black. And so you're not really going to be able to see it. So I'm just going to add a layer of black first, and then I might outline it in a little bit of gold as well. We shall see. That's how it looks outlined in the black, and I've decided I'm just going to add a little bit of silver leafing pen. So I'm just going to tap around the edge like this until I've got some coverage. I've already glued my page into my journal, but I just feel as if it's missing something. So I've got buried somewhere some of these stickers here, but red is the wrong colour. But they are silver on the back. So what I have just done is I've pressed these into my embossing pad like this. And I've done it to all three of them. And I'm just going to tip some of that silver embossing powder. Let me just move that out of the way. Keep your fingers crossed that that this works. So I'm just going to put some embossing powder over all of these in the hope that we can just add some little silver embellishments. Let me just use this little needle here, this little pin, just to, in fact, where's my tweezers gone? This is the fiddly part. I don't want to scrape all of that embossing glitter off. So I'm just going to shake these off like that so that I can pour the excess back into the jar. Yep, this is oh, come back. Right, hang on, let me flip it over. This is fiddly, as you can see. You need patience for this. Oh, I'm just going to flick that over anyway and shove the excess back in, and as soon as I've done that, I'll be back. Well, here's this week's finished page. I'm really happy that I did the embossing with those little snowflakes. That has just finished the page off nicely for me. And I just love that we've got lots of gold and silver going on in the background. I just love it. I've also got a touch of silver, I don't know whether you can see, on the border as well. That didn't work out as well as I would have hoped. I was trying to use my American American Accents Rust-Oleum metallic leafing pen, but I think it's coming to the end of its shelf life and I just couldn't get a flow going around the outside, and then I tried to cover it up with black again, but you can still see it, and that's absolutely fine. It's added a touch of silver and it's all in keeping, so you know that's great, that's fine. So there we go, that's it, this week's finished page. I hope you like it. As always, would really appreciate a thumbs up if you did. Let me know what you think in the comments below as well, and as always I look forward to seeing what festive pages you guys decide to come up with this week. I'm loving what you're coming up with so far as well, just great to see so much participation, but you know, feel free, if you don't feel that you want to do a journal page, try a tag, you know, try an ATC, whatever, as long as it fits the prompt, that's absolutely fine. So take care everyone, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.